Welcome back. Wherever you are here with me, Dr. Paul Jared Frank, and this is episode 2 of the Pro Aging Podcast of season 2. Now, I've got a very special guest today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her first. She is a friend. She is a colleague. She is also a board-certified dermatologist and guru in all things aesthetic and skincare. But now here's the catch, because you're going to recognize her now. She's also the creator of PillowtalkDerm, the Instagram, YouTube, skincare, doctor sensation, which in my opinion is one of the most innovative things in taking off the white coat and providing information for people who are voraciously interested in what we do for a living. So I'm so happy to have Dr. Shireen Idriss here. Thank you for joining.
That was a very generous introduction.
I
can hear you, and that was a very generous, very, very generous.
You're not going to cry on me already. This is not one of the podcasts where I try and make people cry.
I didn't think you were Oprah, but no, not today.
But I am going to say, I'm so excited to speak to you because really, I don't know how many times you get interviewed, but I see you so regularly on the other side of the mic. You're usually the one always in control. I'm very impressed and flattered that you're allowing me to interview. And I want you to feel really comfortable. So I did something very special for you. I want you to feel comfortable because I'm wearing my pajamas for you. Okay? I want you to feel comfortable. I've got my pillow. Here's my special snake pillow.
Love it.
Okay. It wouldn't have been appropriate for me to come to your house in the pajamas. I don't think your family would have liked that, but I think this is going to work for us.
Jump right in. No, next time you come over, we record it all together. Amr jumps in, everyone jumps in, and we just go live.
We'll all jump in. I'll bring my dog. It'll be great. But, I have my little monographed pajamas here, and they're really very comfortable. So now I feel okay to interview you.
I wouldn't expect anything less than you having your initials on your PJs. I love it. I think it's great.
Anyway, I know most of my audience already knows you, but what I haven't heard from watching you is I want a little bit of background first on how the Pillow Talk Derm started. Was it a fluke? Was it like this kind of planned out thing in the earlier stages of your career? How did it come about?
I mean, I think you know me well enough to know how head in the clouds I kind of am. So it definitely was not planned out. It was definitely, and I actually saved the first Insta story. If ever you look at my highlights, you can scroll all the way back to the first story I ever posted because it was on a whim. And it was actually because of a dare from my nurse. So now I'm pretty comfortable speaking. But I used to be very, very shy, and I still am in public. But I had the real imposter syndrome, and I hate hearing my voice. And I never posted any clips of my own voice on any sort of social media. And my nurse was like, you're always complaining. People are asking you all these like stupid questions, or not stupid questions, but rather like about stupid, what's it called? Today's flavor of some sort of like theme that's happening in the skincare world. That makes no sense. Go on Instagram, bust a few myths, get it off your chest, and just be done. And so I took her dare, and I started on like a whim. My husband was sleeping in the background, and it just kind of snowballed after that. It became one story led to the other. One question came into 10 questions, and then it just started like going and going and going. And somebody was like, you're like that Pillow Talk, you always do your Pillow Talk at night. And it kind of clicked, Pillow Talk Derm, and the rest was history.
And the whole pajama thing and everything has just become like the MO now, you and your comfy clothing.
I mean, maybe to you guys, but it's been the MO in my family my whole life. I've always been in PJs.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the authenticness. And I think one of my goals, which is definitely, I think, what you're accomplishing in so many ways, is to really demystify, and again, like I said, take off the white coat. You want to provide authentic information to patients. It's not the old school, like our grandparents that, there's this doctor-patient relationship where it's so totally separated. You want to make people feel comfortable. And I think it's such a great platform that you do that. The fact that you're in bed half the time doing it just takes it to 11. And, I
appreciate that. I think it's exactly what you said. You want to deliver, obviously, authentic information, but you want to just be I don't know how to act. I'm not an, Oscar award winning actress by any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And so the best way for me to actually talk is to talk from a place of comfort.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the only way I can actually communicate correctly. So it's interesting that it happened to be from my bed, because it's been an inside joke in my own family my whole life. Why are you always in bed? Yeah. And so I just think it's funny how that translated onto social media.
You're not wearing the pajamas when you see patients, are you?
I mean, that would be the day. Once I reach that level, yeah. We might have a PG day at the new office. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think I might make that a regular tradition.
I mean, I kind of wore like nice jeans and like a hoodie with a t-shirt underneath today. And patients were like, oh, you're in the downtown office, you're dressing casual. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 21 years. I don't think I got to wear a white coat. I don't have to wear a suit every day. You know what I'm saying? So
you like your suits.
I do love my suits, but I like changing it up.
Yeah.
The point of the matter is, we're in a world where we could provide information and still be professionals and not have to play it old school. And I think that's the fun of what we get to do on Instagram and in the office.
I think so. I think as long as you're playing it to your own rules, like if you like your three-piece suits, you do you in your suits, and that's who you are.
Yeah.
I hate. I wear them when I have to wear them, but then I always feel awkward and too tall and all this stuff. So I'd rather be in sneakers. So everybody, I think as long as you do you, really true to who you are, then you're winning.
So what I noticed from what I know about you since we became friends, and by the way, everybody, I met Shermeen. We both teach together. We're, I think, assistant or associate, some sort of professor at Mount Sinai. You have a well above average knowledge of skincare, well beyond any dermatologist I know. I mean, I have some, most people have some, but you are really, really passionate about it. Were you like, as a kid, like obsessed with skincare? Is that what led into dermatology? Like, what sparked all that for you?
So the skincare or the dermatology love?
No, the skincare. Like, you are really passionate about skincare ingredients and products, and that's, I mean, so much more knowledgeable than most dermatologists I know, myself included.
Well, you're being very humble, but it basically started, as a kid, so I am the fairest and the palest in my family.
Yeah.
To a fault where I used to be made fun of by my sisters, my cousins, you name it. And so as a kid, I hated the feeling of the sun. I hated burning. And so I started looking into self-tanners. And that's literally how I started getting into skincare, was understanding, how does this self-tanner work? How does this actually, and I was into science, obviously. And so I started reading about self-tanners. And then that continued into medical school when I actually started breaking out. And I didn't have time to go see a dermatologist, because who has time in medical school? And I realized that skincare, whether it's a self-tanner, which is completely cosmetic, or skincare that you're using over the counter to actually treat an issue, can really empower a person to kind of take matters into their own hand, to reshape their own destiny of themselves. And that's when I really got into the skincare world, understanding what products do, over-the-counter drugs versus over-the-counter treatments that you can actually buy that are not actual drugs, how much is what ingredients are, and what exactly do they target. And so it became like this world that I actually could dive into to help myself.
Okay.
Without having to go see anyone, because I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of how it started. And the rest sort of blew up when I started going on social and finding that I wasn't the only weirdo who was into this, that there's a lot of skin nerds out there.
Oh my God. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, again, of all ages now, I mean, teenagers, there's such an awareness now. I mean, I had an intern, a wonderful set of interns this summer in my office, and they're all like, high school, college age, and they got like the skincare fridge, and they got things. It's just amazing how like skincare woke they are about everything. And I was very impressed because skincare woke, I mean, and again, not only aware of the cosmetic and protective aspects of their skin, but also aware of what they're putting on their skin, how they're doing it. Is it safe? Is it this? I was like, I wasn't thinking about those things when I was 16, 17 years old. In fact, I was probably putting on the oil and trying to bake. But, don't be modest. It's so great to see dermatologists because, I don't believe in residency. They don't teach you the business of medicine in medical school. And I find in dermatology training, they really didn't go, at least when I was there, didn't really teach that much about formulation, about what goes on the skin, active and inactive. And I think whether you're a general dermatologist or a cosmetic dermatologist, it's such a popular topic. It's amazing to me. Did you do any training? Did you get a lot of this stuff in residency?
I think that was my biggest complaint, is that I often felt like I was the one who was sort of like ahead of the curve in all of that stuff, and I wasn't being taught that stuff. I was obviously learning the pathophysiology, learning the medical treatments, learning the ins and outs, and I was trying to tie it back to all of the stuff that I've taught myself over the years. But I mean, I'm not going to lie, dermatology training in residency was amazing because it really brought my knowledge to the next level. You know, because I thought I understood, but I was scratching the surface on all the over-the-counter stuff that's available. And when I went through training, it's like my knowledge went from like a 10 to like a 10,000. And it's, you know, especially from the skincare perspective.
Where did you train?
So I was at Tufts in Boston.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the skincare industry, because I also found that in general, you know, you always give your disclosures. You're very honest about what you like, what you don't like, whether or not it's not sponsored or things of that nature. But let's talk a little bit about the skincare industry. You know, I had worked with Estee Lauder for 7 years, working on several stuff. I became a lot more knowledgeable about how things are marketed, distributed throughout the world, packaging, all these things that come into play. You are so very knowledgeable about the ingredients of what's in it. How do you feel is the balance now? Because obviously there's so many other aspects other than what's in the bottle. Do you think that there's an ideal product out there? Does it exist?
It's a very hard, I mean, an ideal product is such a hard question to answer.
That's why I'm asking the PillowtalkDerm this question.
I mean, I'm working on my own stuff to create my own version of what I consider to be ideal. I think there's a lot of bullshit, and there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I think there's a lot of claims that are manipulated to say whatever they want it to say. And what I find most frustrating now, being on the other end of it, because I'm formulating my own stuff, is how pre-channeled these labs are to want to basically spit out a claim for you, not putting, you know, the patient or the client or the consumer's best interest at mind, but rather just trying to throw in a percentage of something in there just to say that you can have it. And I think now, knowing everything I know from the other side, it's really it's disheartening, but I do think there are some very honest brands out there, and I think it's a matter of trial and error, understanding the brand, knowing what the DNA of the brand is and who's behind it. And I think that can really make it or break it when it comes to skincare. But having an ideal product, the perfect product out there, I have it upstairs in a test tube, I think.
I think it's difficult because sometimes, you know, the ingredients or the products that actually work, you know, consumers are persnickety. You know what I mean? They want to feel good about themselves. Certain ones are going to be attuned to packaging. They want a certain type of marketing. It makes them feel better. There is a hope in the jar aspect of it, and we can both agree there's limited efficacy compared to what we would do in a doctor's office. Correct?
100%. And that's been like one of the biggest challenges in my own formulation struggles. Like, I'm just to throw it out there, I wanted to put something with like 15% or right below the threshold of what a drug would be of azelaic acid. And because it is a suspension and it's a powder form, it pills, even though the product was unbelievable when I included it in it. And I thought to myself, no consumer is going to want to use this if it's pilling on their face. And so I would rather get rid of that ingredient altogether rather than sell the bullshit story of having it. Incorporate other things to make sure that I'm delivering the efficacy, because a consumer is only going to use it as long as they're enjoying it. And that is the challenge with any over-the-counter skincare product. Whereas prescription, it could smell like, you know, it can smell like a very, where the sun really doesn't shine. And people are going to use a prescription, put that stinky cream on their face because they know it's going to deliver something. But over the counter is a different sort of expectation. And so it's been a really interesting, eye-opening, and one of the best educations I think I've ever had has been going onto the other side to try to see how this gets done.
I mean, people have to enjoy skincare. I mean, we'll get onto this. It has to serve you in a lot of different ways, not just make you age. I mean, let's face it too, most of the problem is a lot of these people are putting a lot of different products on their face, but they're not even using daily sunscreen. It's like, you know, chasing your own tail.
Yes. Yeah, it's the craziest thing.
Consumers are not, they're not easy. Let's talk a little bit about some of the common kind of marketing terms that are out there to clear up for people: the clean, toxic, GMO free. Should we only put things on our face that we will ingest into our stomach? How do you break it down? I mean, listen, you get 15 minutes with a patient in the office. They're asking PillowtalkDerm all these skincare questions. What do I use, Dr. Idriss? What's clean, toxic, does it have to be vegan? What do you say to them in terms of how to decipher what's necessary?
I mean, I wouldn't put like tuna sashimi on my face. You know, I eat it. It doesn't mean I'm going to put it on my skin. It's a different organ. You know, like, yes, you feed your skin from the inside out. 100%. I do believe that what you eat does kind of reflect onto your skin, but you also have to feed it differently from the outside in. Yeah. And so these are all marketing terms that plays into the fears of consumers, and fear is a very powerful emotion. It's a very powerful tool to kind of sway people to do what you want them to do on your own terms. And it's kind of leads back to like the whole clean beauty. I did a bunch of posts on this recently about how it's an indoctrination of sorts, where like you no longer question it because you're so scared and you're led to believe that a parabens is going to kill you. But if you're living in New York City, you're walking over a pothole that has toxic fumes coming out of it. You cannot tell me that you're going to only adhere to clean beauty when you're living in New York City. It's the biggest oxymoron of all. And so,
and you got wasted last night.
You have to approach.
And people get drunk the night before,
you
smoking cigarettes.
And now you're only sticking to clean beauty. So I just think you have to keep things into perspective, and it's all a matter of like just keeping it balanced, and understanding, you know, that these kind of like labels are just labels created for marketing purposes.
Are there any legitimate things that you tell people to avoid? You know, because listen, we don't want things that are not, it's not an issue anymore, but there was an issue. You want to make sure things aren't like done on animals, animal testing. There are certain chemicals you want to avoid.
I mean, I think, like, listen, ethically being cruelty-free is what I would adhere to if you can hold to that standard. I think that's super important. I think if you're somebody who has extremely sensitive skin, you have reactive skin, you have allergic skin, you want to try to minimize the types of products you're using, especially when it comes to fragrances. Although I love a nice scenting product, I understand that many people cannot tolerate that. So fragrance-free, cruelty-free, those are kind of labels that actually make sense. Leaping Bunny is an actual label that actually goes through different sort of verifications. But to be, for example, toxic-free,
chemical-free,
doesn't make any sense because chemical-free, it's just, the whole thing doesn't make any sense.
I know.
But that's where I think you have to use, your own judgment.
Yeah. And listen, what works for one person isn't going to work for anybody. I mean, that's the most important thing. It's like, otherwise you wouldn't need people like us if one thing worked for everybody. You know what I'm saying? You have to try trial and error.
Yeah.
In terms of number of products, now I always talk about in my practice, in my book and everything, I'm all about the rule of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I'm your average guy, probably like your husband, doesn't really use much else other than toothpaste, if we're lucky. And I've always been a less is more because I don't like too many things in my closet. I don't like too many steps. And if I want to look good, I'll wear sunscreen daily and I'll get a Fraxel. Now, what do you tell people, or what do you think in terms of what is the minimum people need to do in a regimen?
I don't think it's a minimum. The same way I don't say that you need to start at a certain age getting cosmetic procedures. I think when you're thinking of skincare, you want it to be very targeted to the problems that you have.
Yes.
And depending on the problems that you have, you prioritize the biggest one and you start with that. And once you've tackled that, you move on to the next. And I think that is the biggest sort of rule when it comes to any sort of over-the-counter skincare products or things that you can purchase from Sephora, Ulta, Target, whatever. Because that's the way that you're going to see the difference and really appreciate it and enjoy the ritual of going through the whole motions of using skincare.
Yeah.
So there's no like minimum. I just think it's a matter of what your issues are.
Yeah. I mean, you said it again, if you enjoy the regimen. I always say it has to serve you, because a lot of people, I'm sure you see this all the time, they come in, they're like, I need to know what I do. We tell people if they have skincare questions, bring in their products with them. They'll bring in a bag and they'll be like, which one of these do I use? And I just throw them all in the garbage. And I say, we got to start from scratch and we have to add one at a time. You can't add 10 products. You can't put 10 chefs in the kitchen and get a good meal. You have to give time things time to work. Try it one, you have challenge one at a time. And if you stop enjoying the process, then you're kind of screwed already. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not worth it. 100%.
And they want to know which one is irritating them. Well, they're using 10 products. Each one individually may not cause a problem either, right? But you put them all together.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about this.
It could be, it's like,
yeah, which ones you could use together. There's people have certain fears of using certain products together also.
That's also the whole marketing aspect of it. And like, I do blame some of the publication houses of, you can't use this, you can't use this, you can't use this, you can't use this. And everybody now is like all confused by everything.
Yeah.
And they've made it such a chore rather than such an enjoyable process that people are now scared to even dip their toes because they think it's intimidating.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think you go back. I love your rule of keep it simple. You go back to keeping it simple. You go back to you figure out what your issues are, and then you go from there.
Yeah. So is the Dr. Idriss line, are you going to have, do you believe in nighttime moisture versus morning moisture, night eye cream versus morning eye cream?
I don't believe in any of that.
Okay.
I don't believe in any of that.
I didn't think you did. I just had to make sure the audience. Okay, so now we got to get down to the nitty gritty, which is, of course, you revealing how many products you have in your closet. I know you've shown stuff before, but really, how many things do you, give me a little rundown of the regimen. How many things do you use on a daily basis?
So my mornings are super easy.
Okay.
It's literally, I wake up, wash my face with water. And I always combine some sort of vitamin C and sunscreen.
Yeah.
I actually don't even moisturize now in the summertime in the morning because it's too hot, too humid. And with the mask, it causes the worst sort of environment for breakouts. Okay. And I've seen an uptick in perioral dermatitis and sort of like, fungus around the mouth. And so I actually do not moisturize heat at all. So that's my morning routine. And at night, I take off my makeup because I haven't found that perfect cleanser that takes off the makeup and cleanses your face correctly without overstripping your face. So I take off my makeup, I use a gentle cleanser. And after that, probably 3 times a week or so, I'll exfoliate using some sort of chemical exfoliant, targeting pigmentation, because that's always been my biggest issue, especially after the babies. And then I use a brightening sort of serum, something with hydroquinone that I make up in the office, followed by Retin-A and a moisturizer.
Wow.
And it's pretty simple for now. Yeah.
You lost me at.
I like that you said wow, and
you lost me at cleaning my face with water. That's about where I go. Okay, cleaning my face with water.
You use that shaving cream and those razors all over your face.
I guess I'm exfoliating every day. That's so much fun.
But men do exfoliate every day.
I know it's true. It's true. And men have less sun damage in the beard area often because of that. Isn't that true?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also you guys have like all that like 4 o'clock shadow happening.
That's true.
Protecting your skin from the sun.
Yeah. Now, do you, like many people, because again, I know you're an avid lover of skincare, and like most people who get pleasure out of it, they like trying new things, they like doing things, and it's a big problem in my practice with patients, because I'm like, if you like what you're doing, do it forever. Do you find you're constantly trying new things? Because you do have to educate yourself.
I definitely try new things to evaluate like the texture, the aspect, the efficacy. I do play around. Like every once in a while, I'll add on a new skincare product that I find to be interesting. But I always add a skincare product helping me target my issues in mind. I don't add something because it's a fad. I don't believe in fads. I don't believe in just like, jumping on the bandwagon because everybody claims this is the next miracle cream that just came out. If I think it's going to help serve me, I'll try it out and I'll do it for a couple of weeks, and that's the only thing I'll introduce at a time. So I'm not somebody who adds like 4 things all at once until I make up my mind as to whether or not I like it.
Yeah. Well, the exact words you just used are the exact words I know you and I both use when we're talking about procedures in our office as well. Because as we know, there's an equal amount of marketing on new procedures, new toys, new this. A lot of it is a lot of the same stuff. And I always tell people, let's find out what your issues are. Let's go with the gold standards. Sometimes we use new technologies, but you don't want to fix what's not broke. And there's a lot of confusion out there for people. Part of our job is to tell them what not to do rather than what to do.
90% of the time. I mean, 90% of the time I'm telling them everything great was once new, but not everything new is great. And the same applies to skincare. The same applies to cosmetic procedures. The same applies to whatever you're getting done in office. So I think you really have to take a step back and see what your issues are. Again, it always comes down to you and what your problems are, and sort of systematically target those issues, without trying to throw everything all at once at yourself.
I always tell people, like, because my dad's a dentist, I say, because they always want to know, well, should I do this at home? Do I have to do that in the office versus at home? And I'm always like, you go to the dentist to get your cleaning. That doesn't mean you don't have to brush your teeth at home. And that's like the skincare. You know what I'm saying? The daily kind of doing stuff like that. You still need us. It's not going to replace it. You know what I'm saying? And as you get older, your needs change. I mean, I've been doing this 20 years. I have patients for a long time. Every few years, you got to switch up the game a little bit.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I mean, if you're not aging, you're dead.
Yeah.
So you got to evolve with the aging process. You know?
And sometimes patients will come, as you know, there are limited number of us experts in New York City, and patients have seen other people. Sometimes people come to us and they're just like, I've been getting the same old treatment for the last decade. I'm not feeling I'm getting the same thing out of it, and I need a new perspective. I mean, you see that, we all see that at our time, because listen, we're aging, we're changing, the quality of our skin is changing, our needs are changing, and what we want. Before I forget, are you bathing these days?
I mean, you can join me in a shower on YouTube. I have a YouTube video.
I don't know. They may ban that, but I know the hot thing now is people don't want to bathe. The celebrities. Yeah. Ashton Kutcher doesn't want to bathe. Right? I heard you gave a little talk on that. There's this new thing about the microbiome, and we need all of our stuff going, all of our bacteria. You give me a little rundown of this fad. Speaking of fads.
I take showers. I don't really bathe, and that's a big thing that people always like to separate, the two different things. But I don't get it. If you have the luxury and you are fully capable and able, and you don't have any underlying medical conditions, or you're not restricted because of a drought, or you're not, especially in this heat, a shower a day keeps everything away. You're happy, and so I don't understand this. I think people just want to be, either different or interesting, or especially when they're capable and able and have, the ability to shower once a day. And I'm not saying taking a 100-minute shower. A 4-minute shower, a 10-minute shower is not crazy wastage of water, but just to, focus on your body and your hygiene is first and foremost. Yeah. In my book.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I'm not a subscriber.
I think people are taking very valid scientific knowledge, which is we need a certain amount of bacteria, symbiotic relationship, immune boosting. We have to be exposed to things to build our immune system, and just the American mentality of turning things to 11, going to an extreme, and being well, because of that, we're just not going to shower anymore. And if a celebrity does it, it's a new thing, and the Sunday Styles or the Post or something like that, they'll find out one person that does it, and of course, don't you know everybody's doing it? Which is just misinformation. It's nonsense.
It's nonsense. And I don't want to know what their intimate life is like. I wouldn't want to approach that human being with a 10-foot pole. I don't subscribe. Yeah. I don't subscribe.
I don't think that there are many people that are actually not doing that, particularly in these days. Let's talk.
If you're stuck in a drought area, but. Yeah.
If you have to conserve water, if you're in a drought, if you're in LA drought, you can maybe skip it.
Of course, I'm not judging you then, but limit it if you're able to. A 4-minute shower, you want to be eco-friendly, you want to be sustainable, you want to be really conscious. I get it, and I respect that, and I don't take very long showers, probably 5 minutes at most. Especially with kids, you have no time. So
you have no water guilt.
No, because they're such short showers to begin with. I just got to make sure that I get them in once a day.
Just get the key spots, like the camping, the camping shower where you just get the key spots.
Exactly.
It's like skincare 100%. Woke. All right. Let's forget about skincare for a while. We all know we're dermatologists. You're a better skincare expert than me. But I want to hear about some other things that Shireen does to make herself, things that serve you. Because whether you like it or not, this modest person who doesn't like speaking in public, you have become a voice for people. And people believe in what you have to say and what you do. And whether you like it or not, you're setting an example. So let me hear one or two things about things you like to do outside of your skincare that kind of serve you amongst all the madness that all of our lives bring.
Unrelated to dermatology,
Yeah.
you mean?
I don't know. You like to ride unicycles when you're stressed out? Like,
I was really big into the Peloton during the height of the pandemic. And then I had COVID and I haven't really been able to get back, in the saddle and really do that anymore. So it's kind of sad, and I need to get back into my, healthcare routine. But I paint a lot. I've probably done now like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 or 7 paintings in the past like 4 or 5 months. So I tend to just kind of get it out that way.
Yeah.
I find it to be extremely meditative of an experience. You just kind of focus on a tiny detail and go with it.
Yeah.
So painting for me is definitely a big release.
Is it new?
A very, very big release.
Is it new?
No, I started in med school. I stumbled upon it, sort of like Pillow Talk, during one of the finals on the second year. I couldn't study anymore and I was losing my mind, and I went to the garage and I started painting on the floor of the garage, and it just kind of, it's been ongoing ever since. So I definitely paint, to kind of relieve that stress and, kind of clear my mind. And it works. It works every single time for me.
That's good.
So I think that's probably one of my biggest outlets.
Which
I love it. I absolutely.
Which instructors are you digging now in Peloton? Are you a Cody fan?
Cody's my main jam, because Cody just gets me when it comes to the music, and he makes me laugh. And half the times I'm maybe really not performing as well on the Peloton as I should be, but at least he's entertaining me in the process. Yeah. So it gets the 20 minutes through the.
I think you're entertaining your audience, Peloton. When I see you on the Peloton, I think it's hilarious. Not in a bad way. It's just you're very tongue in cheek.
Yeah, I should get back onto the Peloton routine. I really should.
Well, you're going to be a very busy gal, because if I didn't mention it in the earlier part of the podcast, Shireen is going out on her own. She originally announced this just recently, and I am so excited for you in the way that I'm excited for someone to become a parent, because it's the greatest thing in your life, and it's also could be the most difficult thing in all the challenging ways that will help you grow as a person, as a professional, as a mentor, as an employer. And I'm so excited for you, Shireen. I'm so proud of you, and I'm glad to call you a friend and a colleague.
You're honestly one of the first people. Yeah, and you really gave me some amazing advice, and I have your number on speed dial if I need, advice on any kind of major issues that come up. Yeah. But no, I'm really, really excited. It's been a very long time coming, and as a woman, it's very difficult because you have to have your babies, or you're told you have to have your babies, and I couldn't get pregnant and all that stuff. So it's definitely it's an exciting new chapter. It's a new baby in its own right, and I can't wait to actually have you through the doors. Hopefully mid-September.
I can't wait.
Show you the place.
I can't wait. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish you the best. I mean, you're killing it, and I can't wait to see what's coming your way. So let's talk soon, and hopefully we'll get to see each other. I'm ready to walk through that door. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.